The liver. Okay. So the liver, everybody says, well, you don't need to detox or cleanse because you have a liver that does it. Well, we have an epidemic of fatty liver. Right now the stats are 35 to 40% in the US. And that's honestly probably much higher, because how many people have fatty liver that aren't going to the doctor and getting scanned and getting ultrasounds and all this stuff? Fatty liver, can be happening without having elevated liver enzymes, those types of things. I just posted about this yesterday, and I just wrote a whole guide on this because
Liz, I was actually looking yesterday because you have like so many cool highlights, and I was looking at the About Me, which was like 125 weeks ago, and it was where you mentioned like some very key things that opened my mind to like, yeah, the gut's very important, but there's like a whole internal system that's going on that we have to respect and be mindful of as well. When like I love this concept where it was you mentioned it so well, like that it's very important for our body to be able to detox, right? Because when there is a buildup of toxins, that's where there's these issues that are manifested, all these different types of gut issues, whether it's even skin things that you were mentioning earlier, dry skin or just acne. Can you walk us through? We understand the gut, like we understand there's like three containers, right? Of course, you got your mechanical and chemical digestion, but then you have your stomach, then you have your small intestine, and then you have your large intestine. From there, it's the internal side where there's a bit of a gray area. Like, how is it that these nutrients are being absorbed? And when we think kidney, when we think liver, what are the things that these are doing? Because I feel people value the detoxes and they're more mindful of these different organs when they understand exactly what these do in our body.
yeah. So let's talk about the gut liver axis, because this is very overlooked. It's very overlooked in GI. And I actually had a live Instagram with a GI doctor. I respect him a lot. He's a great guy, but we definitely disagree on the liver side. He's like, yeah, we don't believe in supporting the liver. And I was like, yeah, you're negligent. This is stupid. Like, honestly, we could go into the research deep on bile, and I'll give you the highlights and the cliff notes here, but I'm going to write a book on this because I think that Jordan Syatt once said, if you ever run out of content ideas, think about what pisses you off. And I'm like, okay. Well, okay, I have plenty here. So the liver. Okay. So the liver, everybody says, well, you don't need to detox or cleanse because you have a liver that does it. Well, we have an epidemic of fatty liver. Right now the stats are 35 to 40% in the US. And that's honestly probably much higher, because how many people have fatty liver that aren't going to the doctor and getting scanned and getting ultrasounds and all this stuff? Fatty liver, can be happening without having elevated lipids, elevated liver enzymes, those types of things. I just posted about this yesterday, and I just wrote a whole guide on this because truly it is an epidemic. And so one of the things that the liver does, it does over 500 different things in the body, but one of the things that it does is it produces bile. So bile is something that gets stored and concentrated, 20 times concentrated in your gallbladder. So it's a little reservoir, right? It's like your reserves. And so then if you decide, I don't know what your favorite food is, but hey, let's say we're going to go out and get a juicy smash burger and some sweet potato fries. Make it truffle fries because they're better. Okay. So a higher fat meal, right? So now I need to have more of this bile released by my gallbladder at the right time and the right amount to help me break down all those fats. Because upstream I have stomach acid and I have my digestive enzymes, but really for my fats and to scrub out all the toxins, to help assist if there are, bacteria. It's very antimicrobial. So if there's other things, parasitics, whatever, coming in through that food, bile is going to help break all that down so that it's protecting you. You're also getting the most out of your food. You're getting this fat soluble vitamins and antioxidants, and that you're able to absorb all those nutrients in the small intestine. In the small intestine, bile is going to circulate 15 times every time you eat, from the liver gallbladder into the small intestine. When people don't have a gallbladder, sometimes they will get bile acid diarrhea. It's just flooding the small intestine because it's no longer working in the symphony that it was when we had the gallbladder. And we could always talk about why people get their gallbladder removed, but the gallbladder is just the kill guy or the fall guy. It's not actually his fault. It's bile. So Bile circulates through the small intestine 15 times every time you eat to help you with all of those things. And it also helps stimulate motilin to have good motility. It helps stimulate insulin from the islet cells from your pancreas. It does so much. Well, when bile becomes sluggish, like peanut butter, or it becomes insufficient, there's not enough of it, we have trouble. And a lot of times that starts to look like not only, fatty liver and things, but it could be estrogen dominance. It could be, yes, constipation. It could be small intestinal bacterial overgrowth because that antimicrobial action's not happening. So now we have small SIBO. That's giving us bloating. It's giving us gas. Things are, sitting and fermenting. So bile is crucial. Yes, there's many other things that we think about with the liver, and we think about, different things that can support in terms of dandelion root or choline or taurine or all of these things that can be very helpful to help just overall the detox process. But if your funnel, so think of your all your organs as a funnel, and the bottom of it is your colon. If that's clogged, everything starts to build up. And then it goes back in circulation. It goes into the bloodstream. It crosses the blood-brain barrier. So gut on fire, brain on fire. Now I got brain fog. I can't think. My neurotransmitters are off. I'm moody as hell. I'm anxious. I'm depressed. I don't know who I am. I'm snapping at my husband. I'm snapping at my kids, and all these things you think are just like you going crazy, but it's really because you are just full of toxins and you're sequestering things. And then that even puts more of a burden on the liver because it's trying to keep up with things that it has, coming in every day. And then all the other waste and no pun intended, but shit, literally that's circulating, back in line. So there's just so much there. And we know you just look at organs, you look at research, it's so interconnected. So this gut liver axis is a huge miss. If someone listening to this is like, I've had SIBO recurring, I've tried all the treatments, I've done all the functional work, you have missed something with the liver gallbladder. Or if you've had your gallbladder removed, you might have to go down the path. I tell everybody, just in general, supporting that with either like ox bile, bile salts, taurine, choline, TUDCA. It can be person to person depending upon what they need. But your gallbladder being removed, just because you can live without it, does put you at a higher risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a higher risk of small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. You've got to support bile. It's just so crucial. And that all also impacts our immune system as well. So if you really want to geek out, I would say to individuals, like, look up the liver doctor. She's got some great stuff. She's got some great articles and blogs on her website. Also has a really good book, How to Save Your Gallbladder. And I sent that to my entire team. Everybody has read it because there's like recipes in there. If I feel like I have right side pain, right shoulder pain, I have any of these signs of maybe gallbladder issues, there's everything from natural, herbal, one ingredient things. Like you mentioned, your aunt went on this cleansing journey, right? And they get into all these weird homeopathy and tinctures and stuff. That's great too. But then it is also a lot in terms of like, how do you eat? How do you change your diet? What are recipes that you can do? How do you support your body in a flare? And with that, I want to just say one more thing and we'll move on. For women, especially. So going off birth control, sadly, I have a brand new client. She's having an emergency gallbladder surgery today. I only talked with her 2 weeks ago and sent her in for some further testing into a GI doctor because there's some things that flagged heavily. Well, at the same time, she got her IUD out. Okay. When you take out an IUD that's suppressing your hormones, you get this huge surge and swing basically with estrogen. So we do commonly see for people who are really, really compromised, have gallbladders taken out after that and or after pregnancy. Again, it's a huge just shift and dump postpartum. So I'm a big believer of always thinking about properly setting yourself up when you're going through some of those like seasonal changes. Like I even have a whole podcast on if you want to come off birth control, here's how to prepare your body to do so. We went about that podcast mainly because I got cottage cheese legs after taking my IUD out and not even focusing on, and this was like 5 years ago, but not even really focusing on that connection with bile and how much that was going to impact things. And then that also, right, with our kidney and water retention, aldosterone, all these other hormones influences things, because bile is also a big component and player in hormone detoxification, cholesterol detoxification, sequestering things from the body. So I just think that I want everyone eventually to know how important bile is, because I just see that it's part of almost every single person's case and symptoms in some way, shape, or form.
It's so fascinating. And it really it's like a testament to how, like, healers like yourself, it's like you see these patterns, and over time it's like, if you see someone, like if someone's like, for example, during the intake form, when they're sharing when they're sharing their story, immediately you're connecting dots and you're like, all right, yeah, this, okay, yeah, this is definitely a sluggish bowel flow. It's really cool to see how you can really connect those dots and in a streamlined fashion really get people clarity. Where can people find you? Where can people learn more about you?
Yeah. So, of course, Instagram at the Poop Queen. But I also have a big podcast as well, the Health Revival Show. We are going to hit our 1,000th episode here soon, which is really crazy. We've been podcasting 3 times a week for the past 6 years. It is amazing what podcasts, can do and allow us to share education around the world. So that's a resource for you on our website, fitmom.co. We have a ton of stuff. We've got guides, a lot of free resources. You can see my team there about our program, what we do. You can schedule a call if you'd like to do that. And then we do have Fit Mom Society, which is our private community. In that community, I've put some different courses. So one very popular one is our holistic heartburn healing solutions course. You can access that 7 days free. But then after that, it is a monthly subscription, cancel anytime. And then all of our practitioners are in there as well for questions.